Welcome back, guys, to the Fittest podcast. It's Mark here, and we have a special guest, Josh Wilson, with Bold Strength and Fitness and Wilson Warriors. So, tell us your background and how you got started.
All right, man. So, I got started. I was super into sports when I was younger.
Okay.
Wrestling, football, more physical sports. So working out was a big deal for me. When I wrestled, I would cut weight. So I didn't eat much at all, so I'd work out like crazy, but I would stay the same size or get smaller,
Yeah, well, you'll be in a caloric deficit, so.
Exactly. Yeah, so right after high school, I started eating, and I blew up pretty big. I'm like, dang, I love this. And, I had a kind of shitty factory job where I would see people doing the same thing as me, but they've done it for 20 years, and now they're, 60, 70 years old, and I'm sweating my ass off, dying doing it. I literally carried a jar of peanut butter around with me just to try to get
just maintain calorie. Okay,
exactly,
like we kind of maintain the same energy levels.
Exactly. So then I had friends that would ask me to work out with them just because I knew what I was doing a little bit maybe.
Yeah.
So then I said I think my 24th birthday, I said I'm not gonna do this for the rest of my life. I went and got certified as a trainer. Got a shitty job as a trainer, working my way up a little bit. I was making $8 a session.
Oh, jeez.
And I remember training.
Let's back up because a lot of people they always want to be trainers as a side.
I think it's a glamorous job.
They do think it's a glamorous job.
Yeah.
And you're saying you're getting paid $8 per client.
$8 a session.
A session,
30-minute
session, yeah.
It's $16 an hour.
What was it? What were they paying? What were they paying for a session, and how much do you have to kick back to a gym?
It's pretty much at the time.
Yeah.
It's pretty similar to what the prices are right now. Believe it or not. So they were paying $40 for a 30-minute session. I'm making $8 a session doing all the work myself.
Yeah.
So
just complete bullshit.
Yeah.
So.
not only. So a lot of times I would get that client too.
Yeah.
So I get that client. Whoever signs them up makes commission off of that.
Yeah.
And then I'm training them, busting my ass doing that. So this is not an exaggeration, not even lying at all. There was times where I trained 23 sessions a day. So
that's
right? And I feel bad saying this now, looking at my former self, I'm shaking my head, but I'm this is the workout of the day. Little 14-year-old Tommy and 80-year-old Tony are doing the same thing. Because you can't program for stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I worked into management, and then that was good, but I couldn't train people anymore. I was just selling training, trying to manage trainers.
Okay.
That was rough. I did pretty good because I was I want to stick it to the man and show everybody what I got. So I did that for a while. And then I just didn't really like the company, so I switched to a different gym where I could train people a little bit, but it's still making shit money. The biggest thing was you couldn't retain trainers because they're not making enough money to do anything. So the trainers would come and go. I had no problem getting clients. I can get clients all the time, easy. It's just building relationships, whatever. To me, it's not even sales, but it's more getting trainers. And just constantly turn around. And as you know, when a trainer leaves, half the clients go with them.
Yeah.
So that was always tough. So COVID happened. Then the gym kind of closed. Then I started my own little training business.
Yeah. That's when Wilson Warriors came out.
Yeah, exactly. Wilson Warriors. So I started the whole little business.
Yeah.
Super scary. But now my clients are paying me directly 100%. So I need way less, half as many clients that I did before, and I can invest way more time in them. So now it's awesome. Now it's rocking. We're killing it. I'm doing as much as I can with just client fulfillment, helping them so much. Life is good.
Because like you said, you're building that relationship, building that rapport. You ultimately you start. Not that you didn't care about them before, but you care about them more because now your time's more invested in them.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can provide way more value at that point. So I did that for a while. Then the gym I was at gave us a week notice that they were discontinuing that program.
Wow.
And I'm like, man. But at the time, I was really itching to do something new. I'm I don't know. I want to write a book. I want to start a podcast. I want to do something, but I'm itching to do something more. And I have an older brother. I would talk to him about it constantly. Like, man, I just want to do more. He's like, what do you want to do? We can make you an app. We can write a book. Like, what do you want to do? And then they tell me this about the gym, and I'm like, man, I was itching to do something more. Yeah. And I feel like sometimes when I'm like a pussy and scared, I feel like the universe has a way of just pushing you over the edge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like,
so I'm like,
you know, we talked about this earlier. Like the whole way I started this podcast was I literally had the same dream 3 nights in a row about having a podcast, and on the 4th day, I shit you guys not, a ad for Anchor popped up on my phone, and I was like, this is the universe telling me that I need to do this. So I'm sure something similar happened to you, like just constantly like barraged with like either the same dream or just things that kept popping up, and then you're like, you know what, I need to take advantage of this.
Yeah. So I'm like, you know, whatever. Like I think, you know, I mentioned before to you guys, I had my best month personal training with my personal training business. Yeah. Like literally, like a week or 2 before they told me this. And I'm like, man, I'm not the kind of person that ever take a step backwards. You know, it's just like constantly forward, even if it's an inch. You know what I mean? So then I just looked on LoopNet, it's called. So found this commercial place I really like. Contacted a realtor. Luckily, in my favor, everything happened so quickly. Yeah. I went on Facebook Marketplace. Found this guy was selling this bulk amount of machines. It was 12 machines, but I had to go all the way up to Spring Hill. Yeah. Parto's back down here to Sarasota. An awesome friend helped me do that. Shout out Daniel Nunes, he's awesome. He really helped me a lot. But then a bunch of my other friends met me at the gym. Yeah. Unloaded all the equipment in the gym. The lease wasn't even signed yet, so I had 20 grand worth of equipment in the gym, and the landlord at the time, or now, he gave me privileges or whatever, early access to go put stuff in there. I'm like, damn, if anything goes bad, he's just gonna sell all this stuff. And
oh man.
So then, things happened quick. Then I was in there. I had a big pile of dumbbells in the corner. Didn't even have racks yet. And I had 25 of my own clients, and I'm like, thank you guys so much for waiting for me. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because it was 2 weeks in the.
Well, I'm sure they were anxiously waiting for you to open this place up, but they were also super supportive.
Exactly. That's that's one thing that's crazy, man. People are so nice. Yeah. Even I haven't seen you in I don't know how long, and then we just literally 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I messaged you, and we're so now we're catching up talking and stuff, but yeah, man, people are awesome, super helpful. So that's one thing is something that's helped me. The number one thing that's helped me the most. Getting to kind of where I am and continuing going is just being nice to people. Just being nice to people, creating value for every single person.
I'm a big believer in karma. Exactly. If you put out good stuff in the universe, it's gonna come back to you. You when we first met, you met me in probably the darkest part of my life, and I was
pretty rough spot.
I hope you didn't take it personally, but I hated everyone at that point. Yeah. I was just in a very dark place. I wanted just to move out of the pit that I was in, and it kind of gave off the wrong vibe to a lot of people. But I was kind of hurt, and I was kind of just frustrated at my position in life. And thankfully, I got out of there, and now I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah, man. So I mean, you could tell, you could see that in somebody. Yeah. And all you can do is, just can I help you?
Yeah.
I mean, what's going on? There's some people that don't understand that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, when I was doing all this, it was crazy. So in the midst of finding a place and moving stuff in, and there's so much stuff I had to do. I literally, no joke, I think I started before I had this brilliant idea or whatever. I did a powerlifting meet a few weeks prior to that or whatever it was, and I weighed in at 217.
Okay.
So just to do all this stuff, I started intermittent fasting, 20-hour fast every single day, because I wanted to be able to work 18 hours straight without any interruptions, without worrying about anything crazy. So I literally didn't even think about food. It's I think the fear of failure kept me up at night. Yeah. So I was just every second of every day. And people congratulating me on doing stuff.
We talked about being a gym owner, and like you said, it's not as glamorous as everyone makes it out to be. So like when we saw the place, we're like, oh, this place is awesome. Like we want to congratulate you, but we don't know like the entire story.
Yeah.
So like, wanted to riff on how.
Well, actually,
like,
given that,
Yeah.
given your incredible story of putting it all together and everything just falling into place, would you recommend anyone to just go ahead and start putting together a gym?
Dude, so honestly,
If someone asks you,
I'm gonna tell you guys, everybody right now, public service announcement: do not do it. Like 99% of you do not want to do it. Like you're gonna blow your brains out. And I feel bad saying that. And I'm not being, I'm not.
you're not being negative
Yeah,
at all.
not being
No,
negative,
you're being realistic
Yeah.
as hell.
It's been crazy. It's been awesome, but you have to literally be obsessed 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't like be like go to happy hour. You can't have a girlfriend. You can't like.
Well, you have to be
You have to be
100%.
obsessed,
Yeah, 100% in it. You can't. There can't be just 98% and like a 2%. Drawback. Like you have to be fully committed. You're either gonna do this or you're gonna die. And like we talked about people that we listen to. One of the Real AF podcasts, Andy talks where Andy Frisella said like people who have plan Bs are the people who want to fucking lose.
Yeah.
So you had no plan B.
Yeah,
It's
no,
either
man.
this is do or die. So that's pretty awesome that you had it and like this is what you were gonna inject to. You put all your energy into it. It truly shows like if you manifest it and if you put 100% effort into everything, like you can achieve what you wanted to do.
Yeah. Like the younger Josh would have like given up after the first week. You
Yeah.
know what I mean, like when I was 29, there's no
Yeah.
way.
You think
I
so?
would've done
Because I
it.
remember when you said that even with the crappy pay structure, you still busted your ass with 23 clients in training. Yeah, because I think because what it is like just listening to what you're saying is like it's like a mix of things. It's like you got to be probably not positive, but you just got to be affirmative. And you said something too where you're like constantly driving forward.
Yeah.
So it's like in a way you gotta have a lot of tolerance for pain. And I think for a lot of guys who get into training, you do develop a lot of tolerance for pain. Like we were talking about like Goggins, and we talk about these like characters like Andy Frisella who all talk about hard work and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing for people to understand is that if you're gonna commit to something as big as like a gym.
Yeah.
And I need this lesson too because I mean just having moved in here with my girlfriend, it's like I've told her, when have you ever read the War of Art by Stephen Pressfield? It's a really good book.
Yeah.
So he talks about this thing I think it's called resistance.
Yeah.
And what it is that anything that gets in your way, even your family, your obligations, or the things that you tell yourself are your obligations,
Yeah.
are the things that are gonna get in where it's like, oh well, I could do this gym, but I gotta make sure I make enough money, so I'm not gonna be able to do that until I'm at this point where I'm ready to make the leap.
Yeah.
You don't have to talk about it, but you had some like personal things happening in your life,
Yeah.
and you actually use that as fuel to push you forward into all this other stuff.
Absolutely. So, I will real quick, I guess, what Mark's alluding to is when I was younger, I was 10 years old, I had a brain tumor, and it was benign, so it wasn't cancerous, but they severed one of my cranial nerves that controlled kind of the right side of my body and stuff like that, so I basically had to learn how to walk again. I
Oh,
was
it's
only
crazy.
10 years old.
Yeah.
But so that has a lot to do with what happened. I guess now I guess like the way that I look at things now, and so then I started playing sports. I played sports prior to that. That happened and I sucked at everything I did.
Yeah.
So I was no good at anything anymore. So to me, I was just like all I know is I was good. Now I suck. So I gotta practice harder. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that was like. Nobody taught me that. I didn't listen to Jocko. And,
Yeah.
No, you didn't have any Goggins at the time.
A lot of this.
There were no
stuff's like-
podcasts back then?
No, yeah, well,
What?
there were podcasts, but they weren't as prevalent as they are now.
No.
And the thing about like a lot of people, well, I wouldn't say a lot of people. I think certain people have this trait where they'll turn a traumatic experience in their life,
Yeah.
and some of them will. Well, most people will take that traumatic crumble
Yep.
and sit back and be like, "Woe is me," and the universe is against me. And other people are like, "Fuck you, let's get it on.
Yeah.
Let's keep going." So, like, there's only I would say like 10% of society that will take that traumatic experience and then take off with it.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I think that when something happens, you get to see how everybody else is, how the other side lives, you know what I mean, and what could have been and things like that. So now you're grateful for whatever happened, and that experience allowed me to be a lot more empathetic.
Yeah.
In nature, and that's helped me a lot in my journey. Kind of we talked about just being good to people.
It doesn't. You're empathetic, but it doesn't make it any less frustrating, especially when you see someone. I remember, I think we all have had at one point worked at around the clock.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was working there as a trainer, we were doing the interview for a guy, and it was like, you do the interview and then you kind of run around, do like a little workout.
Yeah.
This guy was probably about 6 foot tall, maybe 350 pounds. He used to work. He worked. Yeah, he was a big boy. He worked Uber, and we were like, so what do you spend? Like, what are you spending your money on a monthly basis? So it's like, oh, I probably spend like, I don't know, like $300 something a month or so every month on like on fast food, because I Uber and it's just easier and all that stuff. Like, well, if you just spent like a fraction of that on personal training, you can actually change your life and make yourself a lot healthier. And it's like, nah, I'm okay. And it's like, on the one hand, it's like you want to reach over the table and be like, shake the person, because it's like you're gonna die or something bad's gonna happen to you because you're a 350-pound dude. But on the other side of that, it's like you do have a little bit of compassion, because it's like, at least he's honest with the fact that this is just the way he's living.
Yeah, and it's weird. That's like I don't know the psychology behind it, but in a way, he knows that you're 100% correct. Like, he knows he does. Right, but he's scared.
But he's just like, what?
He's scared of that uncharted territory or something. I don't understand.
Well, no, you're right. That's just part of what it is. It's just changing.
He's like, in his mind, you're right, bro. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's just.
But somehow though, like, and I'm sure like at some point in your life there have been some things that you haven't necessarily pressed forward on, but just looking at you, before we had this conversation, before I even got to talking to you at the vault, I didn't even know half of the things that happened to you in your life. And it's easy for me. I mean, you're a guy in his mid-30s. You got a gym that you basically are like is your gym.
Yeah.
It's easy to look at all that and go, wow, this guy's doing really good for himself.
Yeah.
And he's a good-looking guy. He's got his life really put together. It's easy to look at that, and for people like that 300-pound dude and go, oh, you got this all figured out.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like,
they don't know, like,
they don't know, like, you were
story,
10 years old and you had to like have a part of your brain severed, and you had to work from that to where you are, and still along the way you've had a lot of challenges.
Yeah. So I honestly, I if I could change anything, and I mean I have some lingering effects, like I'm deaf in my right ear, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But like other than that, I wouldn't really change anything that happened, because I feel like there's people that are just naturally really good at stuff, and then there's other people that try really hard at everything and literally will not stop. Like, you will not kill me. I will outrun you on more push-ups than no matter what. I'm just gonna keep going, and I feel like it's afforded me that kind of attitude. Like, I wasn't good, so I had to work way harder.
That's really interesting that you say, because like that's basically how I swam my entire swimming career.
Dude.
I was.
Because you weren't the body type.
No, I wasn't. No, like a 5'10" swimmer is not the body type. And like my couple of my teammates are like 6'6", like 6'10".
And you're like Michael Phelps.
Yeah, like Michael Phelps is 6'4". Like it. You have to be a grinder and like somebody who hustles to get to that level.
Yeah.
You know, you have to put in the work and like just be like you said, like just be obsessed. Like, I mean, I used to swim in my dreams. Like when I was sleeping, like I would dolphin kick in my bed, like, and I hit my head on the headboard a couple times, just as like I would.
You try to swim in your bed.
Yeah, I try to swim in my bed. It's just I was that obsessed, and like that's all I thought about. You know,
the 4 years.
Yeah.
That wasn't water.
not that much, but
it's a warm pool.
Yeah, dude, that's fucking crazy. Like, you're that devoted to that.
Yeah, like at that time, yeah.
What's really cool what you say too, you're like, for some people, and even Goggins' story too, is he wasn't the most like perfect guy for the kind of stuff that he does. No, he developed that because he had an abusive ass father.
Yeah.
He basically got like terrorized because he's a black man. He got terrorized. Like, he encountered all that stuff growing up. And have you read his book?
I haven't read his book, but I listened to a lot of his talks.
So I'm not gonna spoil the detail, but he had a debilitating physical thing, that should have killed him.
Oh, okay.
And he didn't find out until way later with all the stuff that he did.
Wow.
And the doctor was like, it's amazing that you haven't died with this thing, this condition. And he managed to, even after he found out, he still kept pushing. And there's just many times in that story where he's like, who cares, whatever, just keep pushing.
Yeah, right.
And he has this idea, he says this is like, what is it, like the 20% or the 40%? 40%?
Yeah.
There's like a governor in our heads that stops us from pushing further.
Yeah, past 40%.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this at your gym earlier. I think for some people, it's like there is, in order for people to achieve any kind of greatness, I think you guys kind of talked over like, there's only ever really 10% of the population that achieves real greatness.
Yeah.
You really have to strive for something beyond what you're familiar with, and a lot of times the kind of work ethic that's involved in that, the kind of craziness that you like.
Yeah.
You went and picked up 20 grand worth of equipment to an uncertain like situation, and hoped that the landlord was cool enough and he actually gave you the privileges to like bring that stuff in. He could have like sold the place. Like most people don't have the tolerance for that level of pain.
Yeah, it's just there were so many in the beginning. There were so many things that were contingent on this other thing happening perfectly. You know what I mean? But it was kind of like more so. I wasn't like scared. That was like the weird thing. I was not worried, but I was just like, I wasn't scared because, like I mentioned, I have an older brother, and I would kind of confide in him a lot, and I would say like, he would say like, well, what if like a plan B, like what if it doesn't happen? Which is like you know somebody that loves you and cares about you. It's an honest question, of course. You know, if it has that, and it's like that's not even potential at all. There's 0% doesn't happen. Like it's not even. Like if this scenario played out 100 times, there would be 0 times where that it would be unsuccessful. Just like convincing yourself of that, and like I'm not gonna let it happen.
Yeah. So how important would you say having a support group, and how important is self-talk for you?
Yeah.
It's awesome. I mean, it's super important. So one thing that I did, I mean, like we talked about being a little insane or crazy. Like, in the beginning, I wrote these non-negotiable terms for myself, right? It was like
it's very important, like a power list.
No matter what, and like so now I'm kind of like whatever. I mean, I still follow once in a while, but it was like the first 2 months where it was like the most crucial. Number one was like no listening to music, right? Which music's not bad at all whatsoever, right? Like in the car, I become Drake sometimes. You know what I mean? But I'm listening to things that are gonna like benefit me in some way whatsoever. Like I listen to a lot of Eric Thomas because he's like right up there, just so motivational. A lot of Gary Vee because I learned so much stuff from him. But it was like 24/7, no matter what. If I'm in the car, if I'm brushing my teeth, if I'm I'm listening to something that's positive. And honestly, to me, these people don't know I exist, right? But that was a big part of my support group. Was like these are like to me they're like my best friends. You know what I mean? Like these are my friends, and I sort of not completely isolated myself, but I didn't really hang out with that many people. I kind of like did things on my own. So I know you guys are super into jiu-jitsu, and like for you it was like swimming. No one's out there helping you, right? So for me, I was really big into wrestling. I was really good at it. I loved it, but it's the same thing. Like you're out there on your own. No one's there. No one's gonna save you. It's you. It's you versus you. I hate saying that, but
well, it's like the way I saw it in swimming. I'm kind of like a Tyree with his back against the wall. Like it was me versus everyone. Like I just felt like I just needed to defend myself against everyone. So I feel like a lot of people are as cagey as me, but I'm sure a lot of people can relate. Like it's not just me versus me. Because I'm always going to outperform what my expectations are, but I want to beat everyone. Yeah. So, like, a lot of people just want to be fucking winners and killers. Like that's it. Yeah. So I'm sure, like, that top 10%, that's what they are. Yeah. It's just you versus the world.
Well, I think an important thing that you touched on is having the support group, and this is something I've been wrestling with because I don't think I really grew up with a decent one, or I didn't understand how that worked, and even now I question like. What is an appropriate time when you're getting your balls kicked in? Do you stop and like reach out to your friends and be like, hey, like, I don't know what to do. And always the answer is going to be just get back to work, get back on the saddle, and keep moving forward. But I think and I think it's important for the focus for Mark and I to do this is just like, it's kind of like talking to our younger selves.
Yeah.
So part of the focus of this podcast and everything around it is to build a legacy around being able to help empower people, probably younger men. And I think part of the question is like, part of being a guy is like, you want to be this tough lone wolf sometimes, and you don't want to reach out to your friends and family. But the thing that I've been getting, and the thing that you guys touched on, is that support group is very important. And oftentimes in the military community, the most important thing for the guys that get over PTSD the best are usually the ones with the awesome support groups. Like they have a really tight-knit family, they have a good close group of friends. So in spite of the craziness that they see in the world, they have someone or a group of people that they could rely on. So I mean, how do you kind of gauge, okay, I'm in way over my head. I probably need to reach out to people. Or do you say, okay, this is something I'm familiar with, I could probably just keep pushing forward?
I think, so for me, a lot of it was, like we talked about, people are amazing, right? So a lot of it was like, well, I have an older brother, and then I have a younger sister also.
Yeah.
So I'm like the middle child.
Okay.
And, my parents got divorced when I was younger. So they're married, and they also had a son that's 19 now. Or my dad had a son that's 19 now. And then, my mother lives here in Northport, so they're all pretty close. And them and there's some other close friends, but it was more like people reaching out to me.
Yeah.
And it's so funny, like I'm not super like religious or anything like that, but it's funny how I would be super overwhelmed, and then my sister would call me.
Yeah.
And she has like 4 kids, and she's like crazy busy all the time, and like so she doesn't have a lot of time to call, but she'll like randomly call me, and I'll vent to her for a little bit, and she gives me advice, and she's like awesome. And so a lot of it was like family like that, but it's funny, it was like people reaching out to me, and I think that they know that how stubborn maybe sometimes I am. That like they'll reach out and be like, hey, what's up? Like, are you good? Like, how's things going? Or I haven't seen you post anything lately. Like whatever. Like, how is it?
And that's that I think that goes just to like your character. Like you're always, like, if you're always kind to people, and like that, the whole thing about karma, like if you always put out good energy, like it's gonna come back to you. So like when you're feeling down, other people notice that. I mean, Mark noticed that with me. Like I didn't have to even text Mark or talk to him for months, and he like just vibrations that I send out. It's like, hey, something's wrong over here. Like the same thing with my brother. Like my brother knows, like if I get super quiet, like it's like, all right, I gotta check in on Mark. And like my mom's the same way. Like all right, there's a disturbance in the force. Like I gotta go check in on my son. Like it's just one of those things. But yeah, like goes back to karma, and like I feel like the universe just sends out just different signals to different people.
Yeah.
Different frequencies.
Yeah, exactly. And one big thing too is like a support. When we talk about a support group, I have, obviously personal trainer.
Yeah.
I have between 20 and like probably closer to 30 now clients.
Yeah.
But I have a good solid client base that I've had for a really long time, and I go bowling with them on Tuesday nights.
Nice.
It's like it's the most fun. They're all older than me a little bit, but it's so much fun, and they're so supportive. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, one of them owns a UPS store. One of them owns like this like crazy marketing firm. I don't even understand what they
nice.
do.
Yeah.
Like one of them owns like this like other printing company.
Yeah.
One of them owns like does construction. Like it's like so there's like like a really good friend that's like specializes in each single area. So it's pretty cool, and they're all want to help so much and want to be a part of things. And just want to they see like. Kind of like you, see how good you are.
Yeah, so it's like you have a community, and now the whole community is coming to help one person. Like that's the whole thing about communities. Like, I mean, that's what I liked about CrossFit. People give a lot of shit to the CrossFit community, but I feel like it's one of the biggest sports that put a barbell in more people's hands than any other sport. It really has. But the big thing about CrossFit was the community base. So you had like doctors, you had construction workers, you had people who are electricians, you had police officers, you had firefighters. They're all part of this community, and if you ever needed help in any of those areas, like you had somebody to talk to. And when you have that big client base, right, you also build that rapport with people. You have all these things open up to you, so you have all these doors that are open up to you now, if ever you should need help.
Yeah, exactly, and it's cool. Like So there's like a thing, guilt marketing, and I hate that word because it sounds so negative and bad, but that's, you know, how it was explained to me, like guilt marketing. So it's like you, or jab, 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 right hook, right? So like you're just like so helpful to somebody that they literally want to help you. You know what I mean? They're like, what can I possibly do? Because you've been like such a godsend.
Well, I think that's just how humans work in general. Yeah. I was talking to Mark recently about how the challenge the challenge that we have in terms of like relationships at times is that we grew up kind of as such as givers, that we a lot of times will give ourselves to people or like jobs and work that kind of like sucks up a lot of our energy, and then we never leave anything in the tank for ourselves. So I think really, I was thinking about this morning even, and I was like, you know, really what it is, we're just trying to find the right people who can actually appreciate that and not draw every ounce of our energy and like give nothing back in return. So I think what you're doing, and I remember this from training, is like it always feels like a therapy session. Yeah. Because sometimes you don't even really get to the workout. Absolutely. Sometimes you just kind of talk, and they just kind of like are venting because something went on for the day. So I think that's just a part of what it is to be a trainer, and that it just happens to be a place where you're building connections.
Yeah. You wear many hats.
You do.
Not only are you like you're a friend, you're a therapist, you're also a trainer.
You're also a trainer.
You know, sometimes you're a teacher because you're teaching them life lessons or things that, like, I mean, when I was teaching Trey and Patrick, like, they don't teach them shit in school. So, like, I'm teaching them about, like, life, and they're like, dude, how do you know about this? Like, you guys haven't learned about this in school yet? Like, no. And I'm like, geez, what's the education going on in these schools now?
Well, I think that's what's cool about training. And I didn't get into training. I didn't have any sports when I was growing up. I was kind of the nerd, so I know all this stuff. I was just the quiet.
Thank you for being.
Well, dude, I was the quiet kid, and I think this is why I really want to talk about this so much, is because I was that quiet kid in the hoodie in the middle of summer who was like writing poems and doodling and like thinking about how miserable life was. So, you know, like, if you follow Jordan Peterson, it's like I was the one judging reality in the world and the universe when I couldn't even get my life together. I was out of control in my life. And then I got in the Air Force, and then I started to get caught up in training and fitness and all that stuff. And I realized I can actually make changes in my life that ripple out to everything else.
Do you remember, like, a specific moment where you just, like, it clicked?
It clicked. It was actually when I got kicked out of the Air Force. Because I realized that it was because I had made decisions while I was in that last year I was in the Air Force. I made decisions that actually steered my life in the right direction. But I also made some stupid decisions that caused me to lose this great thing that I had. And I had to try and find ways to fix that. And so when I got out, my mind was sort of in that direction, and I think we were talking about how like the universe kind of lines things up and sometimes hears or puts you in the right place. Where my dad has been really old school, and out of nowhere he's like, oh, I've been reading this book by Robert Kiyosaki, like Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that's kind of what got things going in that direction of like personal accountability and self-improvement. And that's when I started to see more and more like my younger brother always been into training. I got more into it. And then I got into powerlifting, actually. And that's when because, you know, like they say, the barbell never lies. Yeah. It really doesn't. And like the barbell will tell you the absolute truth about where you are and the amount of effort you put into something. And to see, I mean, these were probably beginner gains. Yeah. But even just through the beginner gains, to see like, you're like hitting those numbers so quick. And I was around a lot of like, at the time, Barbell Brigade out in California was just becoming a big thing out in Los Angeles. So I was in that community, and just to be a part of that and to see everyone constantly like YOLO lift every day, and every day was a fucking PR, which is not true. If you're a beginner, it makes sense, but it's probably
as you get older, it's harder to PR.
I shit you not, I had probably consumed the most amount of caffeine I could ever do at that time, because I would take like C4, like the dry C4, put it in like what's the one in the red can? I think it was like I can't remember. It was like Red Line or something, but it was like Red Line, and like it was like the liquid in like the bottle. I would take C4, put it in that.
How would you not die?
That's what I'm saying. Like I would put it in that,
Jesus, that's
and
like
then
worse than what I
while
did.
Perry workout, I would like pound like monsters because white Monster Energy was like the thing at the time.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
This is like before the times of like what's the
Jack?
one now?
Jack.
Not Jack. No. This was like what's the like what's the energy drink that all the kids were into like a year or 2 years ago?
Bang?
Bang, yeah. It was like before Bang, so it was like Monster.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
So I would like pound all that, and I think like afterwards, like I go with friends and get like a shot of espresso. Like it was the most amount of caffeine I'd ever consumed.
This is why you can't drink coffee anymore.
This is probably why. It's like
Yeah.
my physical life limit has just been
Yeah.
peaked.
Yeah, now he has like these crazy breakouts now anytime he drinks coffee.
Actually, now I'm kind of getting better again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm getting a little bit again. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
it's kind of at the point when I realized all that, and I was even then I was kind of fighting it.
Yeah.
Because I think like that 300-pound dude we talked about, it was just there's still a level of uncertainty, and I'm constantly fighting that resistance.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah. Well, to you it's not. You said
Yeah.
you just like it actually kind of to some people it excites them to move forward.
Yeah, I mean, I do. Like I do some sort of. It's weird to say out loud, but I feel like sometimes I'm prone to like self-sabotaging behavior, which is
Yeah.
weird. Like
I think
Like
we all are though.
yeah.
Yeah, in some way or another.
Sometimes in powerlifting, I'll crush my training, or like ridiculous, and then like I just come up with a reason to miss my last heavy single.
No
You know
way.
what I mean?
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, just I make an excuse or like I do whatever, and like if my coach Jordan is watching this, he knows what I'm
Yeah.
He's the one that pointed out to me actually, but yeah, so.
Oh, so
I
he
don't
called
know,
you out
like,
like you're
things
you're
like
on
that.
your way to your last heavy single, and you're like you get in your head and
Yeah,
you
just for some reason I make up an excuse and I couldn't understand.
actually
why or whatever.
I know what you're talking about. I
Yeah.
was I remember I was doing reverse band squats with my buddy, and I was on my way down, and I remember on my way down was fine. Coming up, obviously it gets heavier because of reverse band squats.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I stopped and dropped the bar, and he's like, "You quit." I saw the moment that you quit, and I didn't realize, and I remember, you're right, like I absolutely remember the moment. Well, all I had to do was lock out my hips, and that was the moment at which I quit. And it's weird the way that people do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also think like doing hard things makes you mentally stronger.
Hard things off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
Just like Goggins would say, doing shit that sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
oh like
Yeah.
Mark learned that from me when we did the 20 rep back squat cycle. Have you ever done a 20 rep back squat
that was-
cycle?
No, I don't. I'm a lazy powerlifter.
Yeah. So like I don't know where I started doing this, but
It was like some weird modified Smolov thing that we found somewhere.
So basically, you take 60% of your 1 rep max and you do 20 reps. Every time you finish 20 reps, you're supposed to do it 3 times a week. Every time you finish 20 reps, you add 5 pounds each week.
The next week, yeah.
The following week. Mark and I decided to
We
add
misread
every
it.
pound- Yeah, every
Every session.
Every session we added 5 pounds. And for us, like, it was motivating because we used to, count out loud and like we push each other, like, all right, 3 more reps, 2 more reps, one more rep, and like finally break through. And our strength levels got up. I mean, I ended up having, I think, at that time I had like huge plateau in my back squat, and I could only squat like 375, and then from there I had like over a 25-pound jump at the end of 8 weeks. So it like that completely changed like the way I changed my programming. I was like, I got to do this every year because you add. If I added 20 pounds every year, in 3 years, like I have like almost a 60, 70 pound, back squat,
Yep.
PR.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, people in the beginning they don't realize once you get to be advanced, 20 pounds is the fucking lot.
Yeah, yeah.
5 pounds is a lot for some
pounds,
people.
yeah.
Like over
Like
a
you
lifetime.
had a massive PR too when you did the back squat cycle.
That was so painful.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing about it is, like, I think I was talking to Werther this morning. So Werther Marcialis is our jiu-jitsu coach.
Okay.
And he has this, he didn't come up with this. It's been around. It's called the Pygmalion effect. It's like you expect more out of the people around you. So if you have like your clients, you expect more of them. So they kind of challenge themselves to go harder, and they push themselves every time. I don't know. You probably have that somewhere in your brain where you constantly strive to push forward.
Yeah.
What I realized is like this was like 5 a.m, and I'm like texting him all this stuff about like marketing, and like what we did with one of the videos that we did that like performed the best, and I realized that what we're doing and what we do a lot is we kind of associate ourselves, whether it's on purpose or by accident, we kind of get around people who like, I don't know, I guess hurting themselves and torturing themselves to do more. Yeah. But I think it also forces you to see greater. And unfortunately for that, like you said, the rest of the 90% of the world, not a lot of people are surrounded by that. They just want to go on, like you said, like, you know, for you, building the gym, there's no girlfriend, there's no drinking on the weekends. But for most people, it's like they live for the weekend. It's like, oh God, I could take off my tie, kick off my shoes, and go get drunk with my friends on the weekend.
Yeah, man, it's always like, I can't even fathom that. Like, what are you celebrating? That's what I was like.
Yeah.
What are you happy about? You know,
yeah.
You go blow the money that you made this week.
I know. Well, I had this conversation with my girl, and she's like, well, don't you want to like, enjoy life? I don't want to like die tomorrow and feel like I haven't enjoyed life. Like, you know what? I like the idea that this is the sword I'm going to die on. Mm-hmm. That I did the damn bestest that I could today. And if this was as far as I could go, then I did my best yesterday. And I don't know how you would sell that or tell it. It's not sexy for most people. It's like, oh, I got to be miserable. Yeah. It's got to hurt.
Like, okay,
yeah. Well, like when you're chasing a dream, like when you're obsessed about something and you have this goal that you want to ascertain, like nothing should be able to get in your way. And that includes like the small distractions. Like, you know, that's why, you know, that's why I do 75 hard, because I have certain things I want to achieve, and it makes me hyper focus on what I want to achieve. Now, like, you know, my look at alcohol is a little different because, you know, I had a relationship where alcohol was a problem, but
it's not your thing.
Yeah, it's not my thing. Like, yeah. I got over my party phase like after
in college,
literally after college, like, because I did so much partying in like the 3.5 years I was at Florida State that I was like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Like, I've already done everything that I wanted to do. Like, I don't need to do this anymore. So, like, honestly, like, I'd rather have just a beer on the weekend and then call it a day. But, you know, some people are like, well, I want to have several beers over every weekend. Like, that's not appealing to me anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy sometimes because it's even, like, people that are, like, a vegan or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you're so focused on diet, you're so focused on training, and on the weekend, you're literally feeding yourself poison.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's literal poison.
Yeah, literally.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, you say, like, it's clean or, you know, whatever, but it's poison. You know, it kills your body.
So do you not drink?
I do drink.
No judgments at all. I mean, like, I think you allow yourself a little bit of that indulgence here and there, but you truly earn it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I drink now. I didn't for at least 2 months. It's funny, I, like, shared, like, all this. You know, I would text my mom, and, you know, our parents grew up in a different age where you couldn't do crazy things like this right now, you know?
Yeah.
Like, for them to market, it was like stand outside your store and like wave people.
Yeah.
So my mom is sweet, and like we talked about before, you know, like it's okay for the people that love you to be a little bit scared for you, whatever. Like you have a safety net. But I texted her, you know, one day when I had this like revelation, and I'm like, Mom, I'm opening up a gym, and she's like, how many beers have you had? I was like, I'm not having none. I'm not gonna drink until like we celebrate on opening day, like for the gym, which I started, you know, I only went like two months or whatever, and then like, you know, just started to loosen up a little bit. But it's funny how it's like that. She was like, "Are you?"
No, I mean it's funny. Like, I don't know. The world for the most part. Andy was saying this. It's like the world goes out of their way to ban things like marijuana and like mushrooms, but then they like. Most of society encourages drinking, which is like you were a police, you're an LEO. Yeah. I've worked with people in a detox facility. It's like the worst thing out of all the other things that people can have, aside maybe for like opiates.
Yeah, I mean, I've never arrested somebody who's high on marijuana for assault or battery.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
I've never.
They're so docile.
No, I've never arrested somebody on mushrooms.
On mushrooms. They're probably lost.
Yeah.
In fucking
I mean, I've gotten them back home. I've never arrested anybody on mushrooms.
Yeah.
But alcohol, like domestics, all domestic happen. There's usually alcohol involved. Anytime a battery, even on the street, usually involves alcohol.
Yeah.
Any verbal assault, usually alcohol involved. DUIs, crashes, all alcohol involved.
Yeah.
So why is alcohol legal, but the other two aren't? Now I don't indulge in the other two
because it can be controlled.
Oh well, that like
economically,
economically,
government, they can tax
they
it.
can regulate it and tax it and everything like that. But like for me, like I just never anything that I other than air that I could inhale, I thought was bad for me.
Do you? And I'm gonna ask both of you. Do you feel like it's nice to indulge in it, but you worked so hard to get to where you are? It kind of takes away from that.
I do. Yeah. I mean, like, I do. I think like sometimes mentally. I mean, I think there's so many downsides. So like, I never have like one beer.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I'm gonna drink. I'm gonna go out, have fun.
Yeah.
Be out all night.
Mm-hmm.
So well, it's weird if you have one drink by yourself at your house.
Yeah, exactly.
You're an alcoholic.
You know what? I have a bone pick because it's weird if you're a guy, but if you're a girl, you can have.
Oh yeah, you're right. Like you can have like an entire bottle of wine and go on TikTok, and it's totally fine.
Yeah.
See you, society.
So yeah, I mean, you're like you probably ate like shit that night.
Yeah.
Then like you're hungover, or maybe you slept in, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
Like you lost so much sleep already. You feel like shit the next day.
Yeah.
After anyone under 30, after you're 30 and you're hungover for like 2 or 3 days.
I can attest to this. I can totally attest to this because when I was like in my 20s, I was literally invincible. Like I could go out all night, drink all night, and the next day go to study hall and be perfectly fine. If I have like 3 drinks today, tomorrow I'm going to be hungover for the rest of the day. I'm going to feel like shit. And then the following day, I'm still going to feel like brain fog. So it totally...
No, you're right. I remember like in my 20s when I was in the Air Force with my buddy Chris, it was, what was it? It was Warped Tour was coming through town and we had midterm or finals the next day. We were like, fuck it. We're just going to drink all night, study as hard as we can, go in and do the midterm and then leave and then go do Warped Tour. We fucked up. We failed the midterm.
Oh, jeez.
Well, we had a great old time, and we were up all night.
Yeah, your cognitive ability will... lack of sleep is going to mess up your cognitive ability, and the alcohol is either, it's going to mess with it further.
Yeah.
So
we did better for the final, though.
Yeah.
We recovered.
Yeah, good. We probably didn't drink as much.
No, we didn't drink at all. What I mean, the thing is, like, my girlfriend's friend told her, like, the thing about drinking is it's like you're kind of borrowing happiness from the next day. And I was like, that's a really good way to look at it. You're stealing happiness from the next day. And that's exactly what happens. So the next day, for a lot of people, you're just fucking miserable. Yeah. And you're like, you lose all productivity, your brain sucks. And like, to me, the original like source of my question is just like, it took me a while to finally get to a point where it's like, I can do all this stuff to get stronger, to sharpen my brain and all this stuff, to be able to achieve whatever I want. It's just a matter of taking the time to develop the skill, like Jiu-Jitsu or anything else, or like powerlifting. I'm not going to waste my time, energy, and all the stuff that I committed into this and go get trashed. And for some people, they do it like every day.
Yeah, it's Thursday,
Friday, Saturday.
Saturday, Sunday.
No, you got to have your hump day drink.
Yeah. Wednesday you have to have middle of the week drink.
And then Thursday's like almost Friday drink.
Oh, Thursday's like the Thirsty Thursdays, right?
Yeah.
That's what it was in college, and then Friday. Well, Wednesday's ladies' night. Yeah,
that's true.
That. Wednesday's ladies' night.
Always everywhere.
Yeah. Thursday's Thirsty Thursday. Friday's like happy hour. Saturday, you're drinking, either it's Saturdays for the boys or it's it's game day, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Sunday is, football season is, you sit on the couch and crack open beers like my dad does, or, you're watching horse races and, there's nothing more boring than horse races, so you're drinking the entire time. So.
Yeah. Like you were saying earlier, it's like, it's really weird when you're having to commentate sober while you're watching a football game.
Oh yeah. Like, I mean, I'm passionate about college football and like, I'm a Florida State alumni, so I get really upset when my team sucks. And when I was doing Live Hard program, I'd have to have Saturdays where I didn't have any alcohol. So watching football and yelling at the TV sober was really weird for me. Like it was just like, this is not as fun and not as
now you're just an angry man.
Well, now it just sounds weird when I yell at the TV. Like,
is this what happens with other people that are sober experience?
Yeah. Like I was like, no wonder the neighbors call the cops every time.
What's up with that guy?
Like this is unnecessary. So.
Yeah. So what's the intention or what's the direction of like with the gym and all that stuff?
So right now, the way that I'm like describing or have it on like our Google ad stuff and everything like that is it's an exclusive training facility minutes from downtown.
It's a beautiful space.
Thank you.
It really is a beautiful space. Yeah.
They actually do have a vault in the building.
There's a vault
Yeah.
at the vault.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where
Yeah.
the name originates from. I think a lot of people are like, that's a strange name, but okay. They don't understand. So yeah, basically we have outside trainers that are they don't work for me, they're like not subcontractors. They're training their own clients. They're paying a small amount of rent to the gym, just that we all pay the bills.
That's awesome.
And you know, like we kind of talked about before, when I started my journey, I wasn't able to truly help anybody.
No.
You know, completely. So now these people are being paid directly from their clients. So they're making that $45, $40, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, whatever they want to charge.
Thank you for that, by the way. That's a really cool thing that you're doing because okay, so if you're young and you want to be a trainer, what most people don't understand if you go to like an LA Fitness or like a big box gym is you usually pay a good chunk of the money that you would make to the gym.
Literally all of it.
Yeah, literally all of it, and it sucks.
Yeah, so when I was working at around the clock, in addition to me being like the training manager, it was so hard to find decent trainers. So half of our training revenue was me training people, right? So I was doing everything I had to do, and then I was, my 40-hour week thing, and then I was training. I was servicing $10,000 worth of revenue for the training department, right?
Yeah.
And I was making 60% of that as like my trainer pay or whatever, right? So then that's me paying whatever the math is, like basically $4,000. I'm paying them. You know what I mean? And they're doing all the little stuff for me, like taxes and whatever, blah blah blah. But then it's like, okay, well, geez, that's a lot, man.
Yeah.
Like that's
It's a lot.
That's a whole lot. So if I could go to a facility like me, the max that the trainers will pay is $500 a month.
Yeah.
And they can train as many people as they want. So that's amazing. Like going from me paying $4,000 to paying $500.
Yeah.
I can have a quarter of the amount of clients and just focus so much on every single person to really help them out as much as I want.
Yeah, most people don't realize, because I remember this, like, because they were really, I sucked at like selling. I really did. And what sucked about it even more is like 30-minute sessions, you don't get a lot done. You come in, you do the session, you get out. And a lot of times what I found was I would have conversations with my clients, and they want to like, you want to go over a lot more stuff, and you want to try and cover details specific to them. Like you said, you really couldn't program individually. Yeah. You just got to crank them out. And that's like, because you were doing like 23 clients a day.
Yeah.
That's
nuts. Have you ever done anything and you look back and you're like, how did I do that?
But you did though.
Yeah, so it was crazy. And I would literally make like $120 or something like that for that day.
That sucks.
And obviously this is 10 years ago, so it's a little different.
Yeah.
It was a little different then.
Back in my day, $120 went so much farther.
Oh, well, I told you my grandfather just visited, so like he was telling me about like all the shit he did growing up, and it was like I had a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom apartment for $48. I'm like, that's cool, Grandpa. You know where $48 gets you? Nowhere.
Nowhere.
Yeah, man. My first job, I made $5.25. I feel super old. You probably made less.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I am older, huh? Like no one knows that secretly I'm like the oldest person in the room. Yeah, no, I mean, ultimately now the thing I'm realizing, and I think maybe it's because I am so stinking old, is like money is nice, and like currently I'm working as a nurse. It's a good, it puts food on the table, it gets a decent place, it gets all these freaking toys. But at the end of the day, it's fulfillment. And part of the reason why I want to do this and want to get back into this space is because it's one thing to treat people who are already sick. It's another thing to treat people long before they got in there. And that was the original motivation for me to wanting to get into training, was to get to people before they got sick.
There's so many things you can't come back from.
No, there's not.
You can maybe make it a little more comfortable for them towards the end. But right.
It's tragic, man. And the thing is, like, I actually see people as they pass. So it really sucks to see someone at the end of their life. They're usually pretty good for like maybe a couple months to like a year, and then you start to slowly see them declining. And then like this person that you used to know, I don't know, let's just say Bob. Bob used to be this great guy. You used to chat and he'd tell you stories about his life, and then eventually he just becomes, or he just gets less and less of a person, and more just like his spirit just fades. So I it sucks to see that. It's one of the most demoralizing part about the job, and I know I've been around a lot of other great nurses who are capable of the job. They've even worked in hospice, but to me, it's just like seeing the light in someone's eyes when they go, oh, if I just like. If I do a particular, I had a couple of people who I worked with at ATC who had sciatica, and I was actually able to relieve some of that, sometimes even more than that. Yeah. So to actually see that and have influence on that is a lot better than working within the bureaucracy of like a hospital or like an old folks home. Yeah. So like props to you, man, for like having the gym, because you get to be the hub of all of that. Because it's not just your clients, it's also the people that are the other trainers under you. Yeah,
and there's a couple real good trainers that are susceptible to advice, things like that, accepting that, and that's really nice, because I'm all about helping anybody I can. I mean, it's a client, I'm not a trainer, anybody at all, like you guys can help with anything.
I feel like one of the universal truths, like, because Steve talked about universal truths, like, being kind to everyone because karma comes back to you, right? Yeah. And then being coachable, because not everyone knows everything, Like, I don't pretend to know everything. Like, I pretend to know as less as possible because I want to learn from everyone.
Well, I mean, for me, like, having this conversation with you, having seen you just put the space together is because I personally want to create a space for myself. Yeah. And so seeing, like, hearing all of the, like, because it's easy for me to watch what you've done, not really knowing, and go, oh, he just had this all fucking figured out. He got it all on a piece of paper, he just executed, and he got it all done. And then it's like, you're like, yeah, I think you told us, like, you haven't quite done grand opening yet, because you want to get everything right and in place, and it's still a work in progress.
Yeah, and always, man, always. So I think, like, I'm my own worst critic sometimes. I'm, like, the hardest on myself from anybody. Like, when people congratulate me, I want to smack them. I know
Shut up, I'm not even done yet.
Yeah, I know it comes from a good place, but I'm like, now it's lit up. God, now it's more pressure for me.
Right.
Like, because if if something doesn't work out, I'm gonna feel like I let everybody down. Kind of thing.
I think it's okay to have a little bit of that accountability, because it makes you strive for something greater, and it puts a better product on the table for people to be able to enjoy and to consume. Yeah. So I'm gonna touch a little bit on. We try to avoid controversy and all that stuff, but this is why capitalism is a good thing, because it encourages people like you to actually strive for something better, because you want to provide a better product for the people that you serve. Yeah. And you don't really get that in communism.
Yeah.
Or socialism.
It's so weird for us, I think, and I think we're all on the same page with this, it's weird to not, I can't just be stagnant, Yeah. You have to push forward constantly, it needs to do more and more and more all the time. So it's it's just, gotta add more and do more, add value.
Add more. I think we were all born with a certain chip on our shoulder. Like, I've always wanted to improve my situation no matter what. Like, I've always, at the end of the day, I either want to be able to learn something or improve myself in some capacity. And, that's how I've always been. Yeah. Not that anything was ever not good enough for me, but I could always do better, or I could always have more. Yeah. That was always my mentality.
There's that, and that could be seen as sort of on the darker end of the spectrum. But I think also what you said, I think there's a very strong positive about it, in that you're kind of honoring the people that have given you the opportunity to do this. Definitely. That's why you want to do good by them, is because they've given you the it's a privilege to be able to create your own space.
They've given you the keys to the vault.
Yeah, you run your show. You gave me the keys to the vault. It's thanks guys for giving me the keys to the vault.
That could be our thumbnail.
So I always refer to it as the bucked up songs, use mine. Save 5%, whatever. Yeah. Ambassadors, right? I always felt the ambassadors of your brand, the ambassadors of Josh, or the ambassadors of Wilson Warriors, and that's what I teach my trainers too. Keep an eye out for your ambassadors, and not that it's using anybody by any means. It's not like that, but the people that want to help you, let them help you, let them love you. Show them, show them respect, and they want to see you win, so win for them. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's
yeah.
just,
Yeah.
you know what, you got to do it for yourself, obviously, but also there's so many other people counting on you.
That was kind of the same thing my mom used to say growing up. It's just, she's like, you know, I bust my ass and I work my ass off and I brought you guys to this country because I want you guys to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that you have here. And I don't want you to suffer. And like she's, you know, helped me out with a bunch of like financial stuff. And I think it comes from the same place, the same motivation to be able to give you whatever opportunities that are before you. And you just got to honor that by doing your damnedest. And that's why, like I said, I'm willing to die on the sword, because it's like, what else do I have? Like, fall into mediocrity.
In a strange way, it's a form of accountability.
It is.
You're not doing it on purpose.
It is.
That person's holding you accountable by, you know, trusting you with this and letting you, you know, just like trusting.
I think that's what ultimately it is. It's like, because everybody wants, like, I don't know, with the client. I remember with the clients that I had, it's like that's what it was. It's like they're entrusting you with the privilege of like taking them somewhere they've never been. But at the same time, it's like what better privilege than to take what you, because there's a lot of people that are armchair quarterbacks and people who want to sit there and commentate because that's what social media has created. But the opportunity to actually take what you know in your head, to give it to someone and to see a change in their life is I don't know. I don't know how else to explain that feeling.
It's insane. I don't even know. I would say just, you know, like being able to help somebody so much, just like that's what's really paying you. Like you said that like money's one thing. But they print money every single day.
They do.
You know what I mean? So that's like, you know, and more as we go, I guess, apparently. But, so it's not at a certain level that doesn't really help you anymore. I mean, honestly, I wish sometimes that I was a little bit more motivated by money, because then, you know, I feel like I would have a lot more. But, you know, that's just not really my main motivation anymore. So it's more just that feeling that we're trying to describe and can't.
So,
you know.
so I do. There is a reframe I wanna suggest to you about around money, in that, and this is something that Mark and I are also discussing because we're trying to figure out how to like monetize this whole deal. So the greater resources you have, and if you want to put money in that, and you know, in that category, the greater of an impact you can have in your life. So do you know Mark Bell is?
Yeah.
So so Mark Bell has grown from just your basic powerlifter, big guy, to now who he is as a separate person apart from powerlifting. And so his gyms are really free. They're incredible, and they're free because he just wants to give people the opportunity to strive for something greater, and what is that's within all of us. And so for me and for us, I think if we could just all, like, if we had the opportunity to just build out gyms and to be able to give what's in here to the people that are around us, it just frees us to do more of that. So reframe it in that way. So if someone were to give you, because I think we all grew up with this like idea that money is a bad thing, like money is the root of all evil. And this is such a generic term that gets tossed around, and like we get this idea that rich people typically are like cold, heartless people. But that's not entirely true. And the more I have dug into it, the more that I've realized a lot of the richest people and the most giving people never say a thing about the stuff that they've done because they don't want the notoriety. They just know that it's going to return back to them because they see the impact that it has.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, so treat it more like that because you're doing some great stuff, man. I wish even now, like, I wish I could go back to 34 and be like, hey, man, like, pull your head out of your ass.
I like that you're saying that, because it gives me good insight.
Yeah, no, because I mean that's like I mean certainly, like, I used to skateboard. And now, like, I look at kids who are like 5 years old doing ridiculous shit. Right. I mean, even now, like, I'm sure you look at like probably wrestling or some other sport. Like, the women in powerlifting, you see some like decently normal looking girl pulling weights that are like
3 times their body weight.
I know, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Like what is it, like Jen Thompson benches like 325, and she's like 134 pound, like soccer mom looking shit. She's like a basic soccer mom. I'm like, I can't even do that.
I joked about I posted that story about alumni weekend. Right, and like, 2 of my teammates shouted out, I was like, you guys, are you getting ready for some of the relay? I was like, dude, our times are so obsolete. Like what they're going now. Like our best times that we were going in college, we have high school kids going those times.
Yeah.
Like, that's how like times have changed and like how much the sports progressed. And like the reason why we got into this platform and started doing this podcast is to leave a legacy of like what we've learned in our lifetime to the younger generation. Like, well, even though these guys have all the damn tools that we didn't have, like, I mean, they have the internet, like literally access to the world, like all of its knowledge, the entire history of our universe, right, in the palm of their hand. But like for us, like we had to figure out a lot of shit on our own.
You had to go to the library.
Yeah.
You had to read a magazine.
Yeah.
Read books.
We're not driving somewhere. Right?
Yeah. You know what kills me?
Oh
I would have really wanted to go meet Louis Simmons.
Yeah.
Never got a chance to.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Like so, like Bergner out in like California. I think he's in San Diego. So like
Strength.
Yeah. So there's still a lot of people like that. There's just something about being in the same room with someone who's achieved like some extraordinary shit or has taught people to be like extraordinary.
Yeah.
That still matters. Yeah. So I think that's ultimately I think what you're doing with the gym space, and that's ultimately what we're trying to do with we're just trying to figure out what it is that we're gonna try and do. So watch out for that. We're figuring it out, and we're trying to figure out how best to serve you guys.
Hey man, that's awesome. I mean, you're giving people a platform, people a voice.
Yeah.
You're allowing, like, if one person sees this and like it changes anything in any direction that they're gonna do, like that's like you guys did that or allowed me to tell a story that was able to like affect somebody else positively.
Well, that's because
awesome.
I think it's important to see a different samples of people.
Yeah.
Because the way the humans work is like they look at they mirror or reflect back what they see, and if they're gonna some guy, this isn't being racist, is gonna watch this and go, there's this 34-year-old white male who's got this specific physique and there's certain like characteristics, and that's just the way that people work. It's not profiling. It's not racist. It's not any of those things. It's just I've noticed this working in retail. I worked in retail with a bunch of like 5 foot tall, like my manager was Asian. The manager under her was like Latina, and every person that they hired onto there, except for like 1 or 2 like guys or like a handful of exceptions, were pretty much that same characteristic. Because you just kind of gravitate towards the same people, and that's why we kind of gravitate towards people who try to strive for something greater.
Yeah.
And so if this does touch someone who is at that level, or like they can identify with that, or maybe even identify with all of us, that's even greater, because then it's like we all share, and that's why I like drawing out some of your own struggles.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, what excuse do I have?
Well, it just proves the fact that we're all human. We're all dealing with total different things in our lives, but we're all striving for the same goal. Like we're all chasing excellence, which is also that's a great book to read. I don't know if you read it, but it's a Ben Bergeron book. So,
what's the name?
Chasing Excellence.
Yeah.
I don't know why you thought I read it, but you guys read like a book a week.
Yeah. We read a lot of books,
Yeah.
And for me, it's like it's just a matter of accountability. Like you said, they're kind of like your friends. Like having Gary Vee in your ear, or David Goggins is like they're your friends, and they're telling you positive things. And not a lot of people do that. They want to go home. They want to get off of work. They want to crack open a cold one and then watch TV.
It's so easy to be mediocre in life.
It is.
It's like
it's easy, but the pain of regret at the end of it is fucking painful.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean.
And I see a lot of it.
Why live a hard life when you can live an easy one? And then they don't. A lot of people don't see like long-term ramifications. I mean, I know that personally because I work with juvenile delinquents.
Yeah.
And they don't see the ramifications of their actions at an early age. So
more people should see that. I think more people, and that's my thing. That's why I listen to Jocko so much. Is more people should. We live in America, and America allows you to ignore the pain of the world. But I think more people need to see the ugly of the world, so that they understand just as much what they're missing out and what they need to appreciate.
Exactly, and a lot of people want to make excuses, and then there's somebody else in such a way worse situation. Like I like to say, resourcefulness trumps lack of resources. Right?
Yeah.
So if you find a way to get it done, it doesn't matter. I mean, I made a video talking about this, so I looked it up and stuff. Like Stevie Wonder is worth like $20 million, like his net worth.
I had dinner with that guy
He's
once.
fucking blind.
Yeah.
His whole life he's been blind.
I know you can't make any excuses.
Yeah. Like, what is your excuse? Like,
Yeah.
What I mean, I'm sure it's
Well, there's a lot of. Well, I mean, like there's Kyle Maynard. Kyle Maynard was born without his arms or legs. He climbed Kilimanjaro. He was a wrestler.
Oh my God.
So when he started wrestling, a lot of parents were like, "This is fucked up.
Yeah.
He has no limbs. He's gonna get hurt." And then he got really good.
Yeah.
And then they were like, "No, this is really fucked up. Other people can't hold on to his limbs.
Yeah.
He's winning."
Yeah, it's unfair advantage. Yeah.
So people will reframe it to kind of suit their excuses or the shortcomings of the
Well,
world.
what about like people like you're like, oh, like I have to go work out, or I have to like wake up
You
at this
get
time.
to,
I get
man.
to, or sacrifice, like saying I need to sacrifice this, or I need to make an investment. I'm sacrificing going out this weekend so I can do this. No, I'm making an investment in my time.
Yeah.
So for a bigger dream,
Yeah.
instead of I'm not making a sacrifice.
You gotta have a dream
You know?
though. You know,
Yeah.
I think you have to have. I mean, like,
Have
what,
purpose,
what's
you know?
I mean, there's something like 20 billion people in the world who don't have running water.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty intense out there. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, who is it? The WNBA person
God.
who is now discovering just how
Brittany Griner?
what a lack of
Brittany
privileges
Griner?
you have when you leave the country.
Yeah.
When you leave the security and safety of the United States and you experience the rest of the world and their rules and their laws.
I will say this, like, I don't think people in the United States should be jailed for marijuana. Because, like, we have people in jail for, like, 20 years.
You're right.
Here right now. But at the same
Thanks,
time,
Joe.
like,
Hard on crime, huh?
hey, Brittany, like, you broke another country's law.
Yeah.
And now you're suffering the consequences. And now you want the country that you hate and you have such
To come
an
and
issue
save
with
you.
come save you. Nah, I think this is going to be a harsh lesson for you to learn. I mean,
I don't want her to suffer.
Yeah.
I just want to point that out because it's a lesson that you need to be appreciative of what you have.
You know, she's an American citizen. She should be here stateside.
Yeah.
You know, if we do a prison transfer, like that'd be awesome. But at the same time, like, you chose to do that, you have to pay for some kind of consequence.
Yeah.
You know, your choices and your actions have ramifications.
Man,
It's-
so on that, like I'm kind of like a softie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel bad for everybody all the time.
I feel bad for her too.
So
I don't
I'd
want
be
her to
like-
suffer.
I would never smack a woman, but I
Yeah.
want to be like Brittany.
I know.
Like we were just
Pull your
fucking
head out of
with
your
you.
butt.
We were just fucking with you. Come back, like play basketball, whatever.
Yeah.
But nothing's gonna change. You know what I mean? Like I still fucking hate you guys.
But that's
You know what I mean? Like, I
that's
don't know.
that's
Like,
the
people
magic
don't
of this
care
country.
now.
That's the beauty of this country. You get to be
You guys are talking about like harsh and fucking crazy punishments of other
like-
Yeah.
countries for
Yeah, like Singapore, like if you litter in the street, like you get caned in public.
So the former president of the Philippines
Yeah.
made it policy that if you either did drugs, sold drugs, were associated to anyone with drugs, you can be shot by anyone if you've ever touched any form of drug
Or
ever.
like some third world countries, like if you commit rape, like they castrate you. In the
Yeah,
street. Like
yeah.
they castrate you in public. Like
Yeah.
Like-
I mean, this isn't okay. That point is just to address the fact that people should understand or see the ugly of the rest of the world and the privilege that they have here. But I only really use that to say that like, you have an opportunity to strive for greatness here. You don't have to be like Musashi. Do you know the story of Musashi? Miyamura Musashi was so he wrote the book of the Five Rings. He was a
motivate you to
swordsman.
read more, Josh. That's all we're doing.
Do 75 hard. You'll read 12 books in like a few months.
I just work out all the time.
So Musashi wrote the Five Rings, and he just really wanted to be the absolute best swordsman in Japan. Like, this was literally the story of a man, and he was a real guy. He literally went around and like would go to other schools, and he would challenge the instructor, the master, and he would obliterate them, he was like the Highlander. Because he would master his craft, get better at it. He would demolish them. He literally had a woman who loved him and chased him all over the country, and he said, I love you, but I don't love you nearly as much as I love the sword." I know, it's pretty like intense, and I wish.
Actually, his life story and his movies. He has a movie on HBO Max.
Does he?
Yeah. So I watched it. The other day.
Down. I want to see it. Yeah, no, I want that level of dedication, but you don't even have to be that crazy. Yeah.
Why not?
You don't. I want to, but it's like, but I'm saying for like the other 90%, you can attain some amount of. I'm still a kid at heart.
Yeah.
I just don't get where that so whenever I watch like the Avengers or whatever, whenever I watch a superhero movie without the wokeness or the message, I always get the sense that like, man, I want to do all the shit that they just did.
Yeah.
It's why I work out. Or this is why, like you said, you're trying to be, what did you say, like a
low budget Batman.
Low budget Batman.
Yeah.
That's why you're doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Whatever changed in people's heads where they were kids and then now they're just like, I'm an adult now. I'm gonna go home and drink my fucking 12 pack on the recliner and watch my game for like the next few hours, then pass out and do it all over again. It's just like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know what it is either, because when we're younger, people always tell us you can be whatever you want to
Yeah.
No, they used to say that. They don't say that anymore.
Oh, man.
Yeah, because
Now you can be whatever. You can be anything you want to be nowadays.
Yeah. Well, look,
Anything.
I told you the story of Miss Parrott, my English teacher from 10th grade.
Oh, I love that story. Such a good story.
We'll say that for another podcast. I feel like that's a whole different route we're gonna go. But
You schooled an English teacher, basically.
oh yeah, fuck.
Yeah.
Still to this day.
For
fuck
doubting
this.
you.
Save that story for a drink.
Yeah, I think we should definitely do one.
I think there's some moment where when we're younger, we agree what our limitations are going to be. Like, I can never do X, Y, and Z, whatever, and I don't know. And some of us don't, like, I think that I maybe did initially, and then I just, like, figured, like, I can do whatever the fuck I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, same with you guys, like, this is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
When you were a kid, you're probably like, yeah, right.
I'm gonna do this. Yeah.
I feel like a dick because when I was a training director, I would interview trainers to hire them, and it was always like, what's your 5-year plan? Yeah. I'm going to own a gym. Like, yeah, okay, buddy. Okay, who do you think you are?
That's a good thing to strive for.
Who do you think you are, Mark Bell? That's crazy. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But, like, even, like, your own training business or whatever, but, like, you don't have to. You don't have to have limitations. Like David Goggins says, like, the only limitations are self-imposed.
And I think like too, when you're coaching people or when you're coaching like a team, have a group, like you can't put those seeds of doubt in people's minds.
Yeah.
It's like, what if they are going to be that next person that opens up, 3 or 4 gyms? What if they are going to be that person that opens up their training business and it totally crushes? What if they are that kid's going to be the next president? Like, you can't sow those seeds of doubt. Yeah. You just don't know.
We're just these like infinite potential machines, and people just decide to
literally
quit.
a meat sack of unlimited potential.
Yeah.
That's what
do you know Cameron Haynes? He's a buddy of David Goggins. He's a bow hunter, and that's his big deal. But the thing about him is he runs like these 200-mile like not marathons, but 200-mile races, and he's not like the best. And Goggins does the same thing. And it's like, for his age, like, I hate running, I hate cardio, but like I was like, damn, 200 miles, and he's like in his 50s.
Yeah.
And he's doing these like 200 miles, 300 milers, and he's got friends that are like, and it's like just when you think there's a limit, you run into Cameron Haynes, or you run into like David Goggins, or people like that, and they do shit like that. Or my favorite lately, to kind of rub in people's faces, is like these like 75, 85-year-old grandmas who are like starting powerlifting.
Yeah.
And like
they're lifting like 315.
I know, and it's like, fuck your osteoporosis, man.
I think there's I'll have to send you guys the podcast, but it's talking about David Goggins and how they met him, and it's like they went to this race. It was like a marathon, and it was like 4 people on your team. One person runs as far as he can, the next person runs as far as he can.
Yeah.
So on and so forth.
Yeah, like
so it was
leapfrog?
like a relay.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the guy said, like, I saw David Goggins, and there was no one on his fucking team. Like,
he was the entire team.
He was
Such a
by
bastard.
himself.
Yeah. Yeah, if you ever listen to like interviews with Cameron Haynes talking about Goggins, whenever they run, Goggins will, he has this whole thing about stealing souls. He fucks with you. Yeah, so he'll kind of like, I think he was saying when he ran with Cam, he ran back just a little bit behind, because they were running a course or a circuit that Cam had never run, so he kind of like waited for Cam to start faltering, and then he'd start to like creep up on you. It's like, oh, are you starting to like, are you falling back now? Yeah. Is it getting harder for you?
Cameron Haynes did that with Lance Armstrong.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did do that.
So he was telling, like, he was running with Lance Armstrong, and he's like, how are you feeling? Lance Armstrong's like, oh man, I'm dying, and like Cameron Haynes is not the level of athlete that Lance Armstrong is.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
dude, if Lance Armstrong's dying,
dying.
like, this is
Was it-
awesome because
Yeah.
like I got still some left in the tank. Like so, like, they are mortal, you know, like they
Yeah.
are human. You know?
Yeah, and it was at the Boston Marathon, I think, that story. Was,
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's a good point. I mean even like, because the last things that people remember about Lance Armstrong was the fact that he did steroids, and he did all the he didn't do steroids, but he cheated. But the thing is
Blood
like,
doping.
but the guys.
That's where that documentary Icarus came from.
Yeah,
He did blood doping.
blood doping. But still, the guy still had to perform at like levels beyond anything any mere mortal would ever even touch. So, I mean, we have our reservations and our thoughts
Once
on
a
that.
cheater, always a suspect.
That's
what I
true,
would
but
say.
still, like, the amount of work. If you take a normal person and they started doping, they probably wouldn't have the same level of work ethic to get to that point, anyways.
I mean, like if anything with PEDs, you still have to work hard.
That's true. That's true.
You know?
And that's the thing is like even then,
It's
you
just,
still have to
I
bust
just
your ass.
there's always going to be an asterisk next to your name.
So I'll be starting a cycle. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. I have no reason to do that. It would be silly. Like, what would I get? Like, maybe like I'll pull like 5, like squat 4, and then it'll still be nothing compared to like most of the people at my weight class at this point.
That's what I said. Like especially in the fitness realm or in sports athletics, like if you're on PEDs, and
You better be a champ.
and you still get your ass kicked by somebody who's not on PEDs, like just hang up your cleats.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously you cheated and you still got your ass kicked. There's nothing left for you to do then.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you've hit your limit
Yeah.
at that point if you're having to cheat.
One thing is like, not everybody doesn't start with the same genetics.
Yeah.
So that's the only caveat to that.
Right.
Maybe like somebody that has really shitty genetics, they take steroids. Maybe now they're on the same level
Yeah.
as me or some, or you or whatever, or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they're not even up too far yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even still, I
feel
mean,
bad for those
just
guys.
strive for something, man. Strive
Yeah.
for something at least.
Yeah, I mean, then that's clearly not your
Yeah,
thing,
well,
know?
'cause-
like you're not meant to.
It's like life is short, but it's also really long. Because when you get to that age, when you're like at an old folks' home and you're literally just watching the clock tick by, it sucks to watch. And I can't imagine being from 70 to 90 and literally doing nothing.
Right. So that was like my biggest thing was like kind of like Gary Vee always talks about it. Like the one thing that you possibly have that you can change is like how hard you work. Your work ethic.
Yeah.
Like you can work harder than anybody else and achieve whatever you want.
Yeah.
Whether their genetics are better, whether they're taking PEDs, like it doesn't matter. Like you get to decide how much you do and how much you get back in return. So there's like a quote. It's a funny quote. And it's really weird that it's from Thomas Jefferson, right? But
Thomas Jefferson was a Renaissance man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he achieved a lot.
It's crazy that it's still
Well before his
around
time, too,
and it's so relevant, but it's one of my favorites because it's like the more I work, the more I work, the better luck I seem to have.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
That, like I'm super on board with that. Because honestly, when I was younger, I had bad luck. I had bad luck all the time.
Yeah.
Oh man, poor Josh. Like
Yeah.
And then I read Jocko's book, Extreme Ownership,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I need to suck it up. And
Yeah,
work,
just own everything, yeah.
And then now it's just
So
like work.
I actually never heard of that quote, so I learned something for you, Josh. So see, you are a learned person. You know?
Yeah. You don't just work out all the time.
Mark 100, Josh 1.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, and I think people talk about luck all the time and like, oh, you were just given this, and like I said before, it would be easy to look at a guy like you with the stuff that's going on in your life and go, oh, this guy's just got it all figured out, and really that has little to do with what the actual guy is doing. I mean, it could, like you look at probably like Dan Bilzerian, it's like, oh, that guy's a douche, but that's not necessarily everyone's story, and the thing is like. What you're doing whenever you say that
was a terrible example, by the way.
No, I think he's a fantastic example because like your classic like douche fuck.
Okay.
You know, it's like you look at him, it's like, oh, okay.
He's been proven to be fake though.
Yes, he has, and it's easy to assume that everyone's necessarily like that, but that's not everyone is necessarily like that, and but you can, and then you can be like. What it is every time you say that and you lump someone into that same group of people is you're basically making excuses for yourself to not try because like, oh, they've been given genetics or they had money or they just look a certain way, so life just opens doors for them, and that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, my thing is the biggest thing is like not comparing yourself to anybody else, Because if you do that, then you start slowly going into this track where you're competing against them.
Yeah.
And then when you maybe pass them by, you chill now. I'm good now.
That complacency. Yeah.
As long as I stay in, stronger than Mark or whatever. Sorry. As long as I do that, just above him, then I'm good. But if you don't hold anybody else, like you're going against somebody, then you're just on your own. You're gonna keep going no matter what. Just don't slow down. You never hit that speed bump. Really.
Yeah, find the maximum of your own potential, and that's also something that I've heard from people. It's like it's easy to judge people based on their accomplishments, but you don't know what bothers that person and what next thing that they're striving for. Because you might think that they're at the peak of their game, but they're like, nah, this is shit, man. Like I can do so much more.
Not even starting.
Yeah, and you said that too. You're like, people like pat you on the shoulder, like,
Good job. It's not even. I'm not even almost starting.
Yeah.
So.
I'm just getting the ball rolling.
I know. I just get my feet wet.
3 to 6 months. Watch. I'm gonna make you proud.
And even then, after that, you'll have some other goal that you want to strive for.
Yeah.
And you can keep doing that. Like I'm 38. I just started jiu-jitsu. I have no business rolling around with fucking 20-year-olds who have done wrestling. It's ridiculous. And like I just got my knee like worked over like 2 or 3 months ago, but like for whatever reason, I'm going back in there wrestling with people who are like much faster than me, more capable than me, that have wrestling backgrounds and all this other stuff, who are probably stronger than me. But it's great.
Yeah, such a good sport.
Man. Yeah. It's addicting. But you were a wrestler.
Yeah, I was a wrestler. I actually did a little bit of jiu-jitsu. And it's so funny you say that. I did a little bit of jiu-jitsu right after, just in high school, not in college or anything. But, so I missed wrestling. So I, found somebody local. He was like a, old UFC fighter or whatever. And he taught jiu-jitsu in his garage. Yeah. With some people that, they've done it for like 2 or 3 years all together, this big group. And, they invited me in. And so I started rolling around with them, and I beat them a lot of times just because I could outposition them in wrestling. Yeah. But they would go to their back, and I'm like,
What do I do from here?
That was my issue, because I was so much stronger and faster than a lot of people. But then like I'd get on my back or they get on their back, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And they're like, they get all spider monkey, and I'm like, look, like I know how to stand up and do takedowns, like I pin you to the ground. I don't know how to do all the nuances, but I'm getting better.
Oh yeah. Part of what we're gonna do downstairs is we're gonna sit down some mats for one section. So it's gonna be like it's gonna be the platform, that's gonna be mats, and then it's gonna be the dining area. And I'm gonna make a little climbing wall for my daughter, because she likes climbing. I'm just trying to make her like as much of a beast as I humanly can. But hey man, like if you Werther's place is just on McIntosh by where White Buffalo used to be.
Yeah, dude, I'd love to.
So come on by, or we'll have the mats down. We could definitely use like you pick your brain on some wrestling stuff.
Calling me out.
Yeah, no, I'm not calling you out. I'm like,
I
want to learn from you, because I didn't have any of this stuff when I was a kid. I was, like I said, I was too busy like contemplating the universe and writing poetry and.
I think that's the thing. Like people say MMA, and a lot of times they don't even know what it stands for. Like literally mixed martial arts. So like you teach me, your stuff.
Yeah.
And like I can teach you a little bit of wrestling.
Yeah.
You get better at it, and we all.
Actually, you know what? That's a really good point about all of this. As easy it is, and I'm going to keep going back to this. As easy as it is to look at whatever we've done, whatever you've accomplished. The thing that I've always found in these conversations is every single one of the people that I talk to have an incredible amount of humility. Yeah. Because, I touched on that, we're always striving for something greater, but it's like, I'm nobody, man. Yeah. Like
what I found is everyone always wants to continue learning.
Yeah.
And like we all have that same mentality of like, once you stop learning, like, what are you doing?
Well, you literally die.
Yeah.
I think that's been scientifically proven, is that once your brain atrophies, because literally we're wired to constantly evolve, and once your brain and body stop taking on new information and adapting to the environment, you start to atrophy and die. This is why most people, as soon as they quit their like 20 or 30-year career, they just go downhill. They go home.
Yeah, they live the like next 11 years and then collect Social Security.
Yeah, and they just die. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we just like have this innate ability to just keep going like that.
Yeah.
And honestly, when somebody like, I keep talking about people saying like, good job, or I'm so proud of you, or they want to congratulate me, and praise me, honestly I feel uncomfortable. So
For what? What did I do?
You're making this so awkward.
Yeah.
Just being me.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, cool. This has been an awesome conversation, man. It's good to get to know you some more. I'm glad that I'm excited to find out that you're like right here.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like 4 minutes. Like the next.
That's crazy.
The next road over in the same development, but
Not
I still
even.
drove my truck over.
You're like a minute drive. You like zip back over here and like just park your truck. That's pretty awesome. But where can people find you?
So my mainly Instagram. I'm super active on Instagram. So that's the main thing. So my gym is the Vault Strength and Fitness, and just to make it easier for everybody, I literally made that my kind of like my name for everything. So that's my Instagram, the Vault Strength and Fitness. I have a Facebook page, the Vault Strength and Fitness, and a website also, same thing. Then as far as my training, it's Team Wilson Warriors. So Wilson Warriors is the training thing. But I like to say team. I'm super team oriented. I think that's good, man. Everybody like needs to know that we're there with them. So Team Wilson Warriors, and on Instagram,
Yeah.
There we go. Come check us out. Come see us at the gym.
Yeah.
We'll all be working out at something
Yeah.
together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do some stuff together. We'll collaborate on more stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's because that for me is like we said, money is nice, but like being around people who strive for the same things or want to be in the same stuff that you're into it's a rarity.
Yeah.
I'm not a nurse, man. Sorry,
All right,
I can do the job.
Well,
Where can people find you?
my Instagram is MCOX91, and you can find us at Fittest Podcast on Instagram as well. And
You can find me at Echelon Media on Instagram. I'm the video guy. I do some fitness stuff, but I'm kind of focused on this with this whole team. But yeah, and like I said, we're trying to figure out how to best serve the Florida's fitness community. We want to find a way to really leave a legacy, and I think we're kind of tossing around the idea of like a program for people, but it's going to be a very selective program. So we really want to try and find people who are truly committed to making a change in their lives. And so it's going to be an investment. So it's going to come at a premium. And that means you got to be willing to put in the work. So I'm putting it out there. We're going to work on it. And that's because, we'd like to touch and reach out to a bigger audience. But if we can make a difference in at least a handful of like younger men's lives, because I honestly feel that for the last 15 or 20 years of at least my own existence, it feels like there has been a war against young men.
I've said that, for a long time.
Oh, dude, I remember watching Ricky Lake at like 12 years old, and it's like men are dogs, and it's just kind of grown from there.
Ricky Lake, man, I haven't
Bro.
heard that name in forever. That's
I'm old.
Like 1993.
Yeah, no, I know. But I mean, like, even since then, and I get it, like, and it's like, but now it's grown to like toxic masculinity, and like the Me Too movement has like taken a swath, like a big swath against like just what it means to be a guy, and it's easy to take shots at guys, but then whenever there's natural disasters or whenever you need someone to go
whenever
in,
you need something built, or you need a road paved, or anything hard labor, or
it's always guys.
Yeah. Or people going to war, you need guys.
Yeah.
So maybe the masculinity is not toxic at all.
No,
Maybe it's
not
just
at all.
guys
I
just
think
being
that we need to
guys.
understand the virtues.
I mean, we're here to be, protectors, providers, and presiders.
Yep.
So.
Yep. There are virtues. Those are virtues, and it's important to actually, and it's important to encourage that behavior and encourage the communities that would actually allow for those things, that to snuff out all the negative stuff. And I think having come from the opposite side of that, being a gentle soul with my poems and all that stuff, and discovering the importance of being tough and being hard, that's something I want to put out there into the world.
I think that's when you start eating steak.
I've always eaten steak. I just what I decided to do when I had is to cut out the rice, because it's like I know I'm Filipino and cut out. But anyways, let's stop talking. We're gonna work on that. I'm gonna get that out to you guys. Check out Josh's stuff. If you're ever in the Sarasota area, check out his gym. It's a beautiful space. You can check out the actual vault.
Yeah.
Yeah, check out the vault.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.